this weekend feels like an opportunity to consciously place ourselves in that energy, but before the big trip starts. So yes, we're away from home, yes, we're house sitting, but we're head home in inverted commas in a few days time.
But I love that we last weekend and the weekend before immersed ourselves in camping site vibes, and then so last weekend, the weekend before, we did that. This weekend we're doing this.
Yeah.
So it all feels like a gorgeous soup of the journey.
And that sounds like I did that without any kind of conscious awareness of, oh, I know what we do. We'll do those things before we're doing them. I think it's just a sign
They came to us. The one was booked ages ago for your birthday, before we had decided to do this trip. The other one was an invitation from friends to come with.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just a sign that it's not like, oh, a weird thing that is outside of our normal behaviour, or is very aligned.
Yeah, that's true. Like those things, especially the 2 camping trips, would have happened probably anyway, and we're just seeing it from a different perspective because of our plans, which are starting in September, and then,
So we went but looked with different eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, the same thing would have happened. This weekend wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Because this is house sitting.
Proper house sitting.
Proper house sitting.
Not for family or friends.
And how gorgeous are the animals here. Oh, so lovely to spend time with like a pooch with such gentle energy and a cat with so much attitude.
And of course it's that way around.
They are so gorgeous. I think that's like going to be one of my very favorite things about house sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the beings we're living with.
Yeah. And how quickly one can feel at home somewhere brand new. We arrived here yesterday, and it feels comfortable, and we've been for a long walk, like super close by, with a pooch, really building that bond as well. Like, okay, cool, like now we're a pack. Here we go. You met us yesterday, and now we're a pack, and we'll leave and we'll be back. And it's kind of all of those things. I'm literally sitting here just with a big smile.
I'm also thinking back to the camping trips, and if you take the metaphor of spirals, I guess I'm curious about what things did you maybe recognize, like is another revolution of the spiral, and then maybe what things are maybe you see for the first time, but you kind of hope or anticipate that you'll start to recognize that as we circle around and around, because it feels like a lot.
What did you recognize?
I think the thing that really struck me was the sacredness, and that's a word that I feel has been a theme of certainly the 2 we shouldn't really call them camping trips. They were like massively glamping.
Okay, correction.
We had hot water to hand, and
we cannot claim camping at all. It is proper glamping.
But it was a moment in time where you were more aligned with the outside world. But I think for me, there were moments in both spaces where there was kind of an awareness of these spaces are sacred, and then a curiosity around what happens when the sacredness of that space isn't, oh wow, this woods is beautiful and it's been here for years and here I am in it. That the sacredness of the space is, I've been part of groups and conversations and moments in this space many times, and it has the resonance of celebrations and grief, and I feel like that's a big part of partly what I'm seeking, but partly what I think this is really about. It's about the places where we gather are so important, and creating a legacy of people who have gathered here for this purpose before, and now you're part of that story arc. I think is really beautiful, and I'm excited at the prospect of participating in that. So yeah, sacredness.
Yeah, and I think like seeing that as one of the elements of a place. So basically that mostly intangible energy of a place, but bringing it into the conversation and making it a tangible, you know, it is as real as this fire that we're sitting around at a campsite, for instance, and actually bringing that into the conversation and making people and ourselves part of that. Because I think often we don't think about all the energy that anywhere has. I mean, anywhere we go, you can, you know, this house we're staying in has glorious energy. And it's not about the couches and the beds and the shower and the bath and everything, but yeah, there's that intangible. It's kind of bringing the intangible into the tangible spaces.
Giving it focus and attention. Like hotel rooms go out of their way to sanitize the presence of the previous occupants.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas, you know, we're literally not in a home that was someone else's. Like, we're in someone else's space. We're even, you know, with something that is beyond the furniture and stuff. Is like these animals that they adore. Yeah. And I think, there's something about very consciously welcoming that. So I'm kind of, that to me feels like something I'm really looking forward to getting into. And I guess I'm curious about, you know, other than places of worship, like going to a church or a synagogue, I'm curious about visiting retreat centres and places of healing where perhaps that intention has already been set in the space, and how that might feel.
Do you know that this home was blessed by a Tibetan monk?
Yes, I remember hearing that.
Yeah, so I'm just smiling because you're saying sacred space and intention and all of that. And, you know, and I'm just saying that element is here and you can really feel it. I think so. And so when we're talking about eventually the space and what we would like that to feel like, I'm smiling already because it feels like, you know, we're going to be picking up pebbles along the way to take with us, or stones to put around our fire. And I don't mean physical ones, but, you know, just even from here, from this weekend, like a big stone of energy that's gorgeous. Like, oh yes, like, you know, that's something great to carry with us. And even if it's something that's intangible, like an awareness or an energy or a thought or a realization or a vision.
I find it tangible. Like, I'm in the energy of a space. Sometimes it hits you, doesn't it? Like it's really
tangible.
Yeah. What about for you? What have been the things that you'll smile at when they come round the spiral another time?
I think I'm really feeling and recognizing a familiarity already, that I'm smiling, and the only words I've got for it at the moment is like, I feel at home. And I'm not just talking about where we are right now, but, you know, there's something familiar about the places that we've been placing ourselves in. And I think the familiarity might be a recognition that that's all going to be repeated again and again on this trip, on this journey.
Yeah.
Kind of, that's how I feel. Maybe recognizing the parts and going, oh yeah, this is part of it. This is part of the vehicle.
This is part of a journey that I'm consciously on, rather than, oh, this weekend I'm staying in a cabin.
Yeah, they all feel really connected, and maybe that's got a lot to do as well with, you know, the work that we are doing all the time for that beautiful balance between stability and growth, and both happening at the same time. And so, you know, it's not growth with disregard and throw it all in and we'll see what happens. It comes from a really rooted place.
Something in the weekend.
Yeah.
Like we're not we're not like what we were saying this morning, like it's not about dramatic change. It's slow and steady but conscious and
very rooted, and maybe that's the familiar bit as well. I don't know, I'm not trying to pinpoint it too much, but it's just, I can just maybe say what the feelings are.
Yeah, no, and we've always known this, like we've known or noticed before that with travelling, whatever home it is, we're able to make it in a myriad of places. So maybe it's not making it, it's just it's with us. But there are it's very rare. I'm trying to remember a moment where either on my own or with you, I haven't felt at home, and I'm remembering a hotel room, like, and you weren't there, and it was, you know, really one of these really sanitized.
I think I know which one you called me from there.
And it's just there's nothing about it. But again, the biggest thing is, if you was it the bed, was it the carpet? It's like, no, the energy.
Yeah.
But mostly I feel at home. I guess with the irony being, I struggle to feel at home in the very home I was born in and raised in, and still visit, you know, like 45 years of a relationship with a building, and
maybe you need to realize though that you have found that real sense of home in between the time you lived there and now.
Well,
and
I need to move it in.
You need to move it in. You need to not leave. I left it outside the door. Why? So maybe it's just like, oh no, you'll probably find there's tons of space for it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent example of how, you know, we could talk about the elements that bring this energy to life, but obviously it's what you are personally, your relationship with the space is obviously a key element of that.
Well, I was saying to you earlier, I was reflecting on the elements between, you know, say for instance you're saying, okay, I'm doing quite a lot of, you know, learning and work on how I am in relationship and how I do relationship and how we are in a relationship, and it just dawned on me how absolutely similar those elements, the ingredients are, and relevant they are to this trip, this road trip, this process, this journey that we're taking. And the key things that jumped out is, you know, a trust. Like, trust is a key ingredient in relationship, and also the relationship with this trip. Adventure, but also stability, space for growth, and of course that sits on the other side of stability as well. And like a partnership to practice relationship in, and a partnership to do this with. And I was just like, oh, this is relationship. This is also relationship happening right here. And then I pondered it a bit more, and I was like, well, yes, of course it is, because it's my relationship with what's happening. How do I feel about all the steps that we're taking? And all of it, I mean, the only feelings that are personal to me is my relationship with it. And so I just had a little bit of a moment going, oh, aha, it's all about relationship at the end of the day. It's just so clear.
I like how I also feel like one of the things we've been doing in a really gorgeous way, not in a judgy way, And like I noticed that saying it now, it's like, oh, I just want to paraphrase this. But I hadn't thought the need to, because well, it is called talking in circles. Yeah, I'll get there in the end.
Yeah, very purposely so.
No, but we've been going around at the campsites and a few occasions here. We've just noticed a few things. Oh, I really like that. I would like to make a note. I noticed something that is here that I want to take, and not like, oh, I want one of those.
It's not a possessive feeling.
I don't like that. It's just, oh, what is it about the cabin had a veranda, and this home here it's not really a veranda, but it's this lovely transition between inside and outside, and it works really well. And it's just noticing that, and I guess you also like notice things. You're like, it's like the second campsite didn't feel nearly as sacred as the first. Okay, so
absolutely.
Cool. What are the ingredients? Because this has, so I'm really like that kind of being exposed to that kind of learning, and it feels of course we're gonna, whatever it is we end up doing is going to be a product of all of these micro moments, and it will be the unique combination of all of that plus the stuff that comes along.
Our version of flicking through hundreds of home magazines and saying, oh yeah, those tiles, that sofa, that's what it feels like.
Oh, I know this kind of woods.
Yeah, so it feels like, this is our version of paging through home magazines and going, oh, that's nice. And we all have things that we naturally, oh, I love wood, I love glass, oh no, I like art deco. We all like different things, of course. And we know that when we page through home design magazines, we're just doing that by going on the road.
Well, we're living in it, I guess, and placing ourselves in it. And I guess, so if there was like an energy equivalent of a home and lifestyle magazine, because I feel like that's ultimately what we're doing.
Yeah, it's not at all about objects. I haven't walked here going, oh, I'm really going to make a note of, I don't know, that couch. Or no, it's like you say, what is the energy here, and how is it?
How does this house feel very homely?
Yeah.
What is it about the space, and not in a, and what is it about spaces that are a transition between the inside world and the outside world? And I think that's it's really interesting. And then where do you choose? I think I'm gonna, this might become a little pet project for me. It's like, where do we choose to stretch in the morning? And what is it about those spaces?
Yeah, because we have quite a clear, we both this morning said the same room. That feels like the
this room. Also the room we've chosen, this room obviously is a little bit of a central point for us in this particular home, and it's not like it isn't full of gorgeous spaces.
I was very drawn to this room right from the beginning. When we first looked through the house, I was like, oh, this view as well is just green out the window.
Like 1,000 shades of green.
I was gonna say I love, as well as these elements we're exploring in terms of the energy, but like I'm getting a really clear idea even what kind of woods I like. Like usually I would say like I love walking in the woods. And it is true, I really do. But I love like tall young trees.
Younger trees,
with lighter leaves, and I'm looking at the kind of light that they let through versus beautiful big oaks or sycamores, and how different that feels. I'm like distinguishing between the types of woods I like, which to me is new. I was like, oh no, I love walking in the woods.
The end.
But I'm looking from a place going, oh, the light from there is amazing. What is it? Oh, it's the tall trees that makes that so. Or the temperature, or there's a stream, or there's a pond as well, or, I don't know. But that's how I think, that's something new. That's something I noticed. Like even when we walked this morning, I was like, oh, okay, I do. I like a little bit of a, pasture, and then walking towards the woods, and then the parts of the woods, the meadow is what I'm drawn to, and walking into the woods from a meadow.
Mm.
So it's all becoming so like tangible in a way.
That's your word for today.
It is, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah.
I'm enjoying that kind of, and this is a big story arc for me, like being in the outside spaces and thinking, oh, this is where we're bringing our work to a hefty degree, not completely. I will still have a relationship with my desk. I will still have a relationship with, you know, the internet and spreadsheets, but also thinking about, okay, what does our work look like in the outdoors? And like 20-year-old me, that's what she did, like working in outdoor centres.
I love that. I love that spiral for you.
It's one of those, I probably have to give it a lot more thought, but it's kind of just glorious that I find myself doing that, and in the most unlikely of ways. Like, so this is why the smile is there, because it's like I couldn't have made that up. This is definitely not me. Although it completely resonates. It's just, wow. How do you do a story arc of being desperate to work in the outdoors when you're, you know, early 20s, but thinking you had to make a choice to not do that, and then this, you know, you have to laugh at the career path because it wasn't so much a path at all, and then here I am, like 25 years later, and I see my future very much with the outdoors and working with it, and yeah, it's all I have is a big smile for that one. Like, it's just completely unpredictable, but it isn't like anyone else is driving this.
Well, you were talking just now about the things that resonate again and again are on the spiral. This just happens to be 25 years ago.
It was a 25-year run. What can I say?
Yeah, so
it's have a very deep gong to it.
So that's absolutely the same, exactly the same principle. It's just, you know, because we experience time in that way, it feels like that's a long time, but it's absolutely the same thing as, oh, what resonates about, you know, being in different homes, being in different campsites. Yes, that is also on the spiral, like, which is great.
I recognize myself. I recognize that energy, yeah, and this is perfect. To do it in this way is, kind of wonderful. So I'm enjoying imagining. And we mentioned this week about, let's maybe do the South Downs way every year.
Yeah,
let's maybe take groups with us sometimes.
Yeah,
and
what a check-in.
Yeah, wow, what a thing to do for one, and then what a thing to share if we do choose to kind of open up those experiences. And that is very much the same completely recognizable energy of that 20-year-old who just wanted to canoe and climb.
But I think I love, and this is connected with what we're talking about, but I love how this space, and I'm just going to broadly use that, like this space that we find ourselves in, this journey that we're setting off on, that we're already on, etc. But I love how it just feels more and more spacious towards healing. It just feels like it's creating more and more space for that element, healing, and, you know, in some very practical ways, like, you know, the space and time in the day, like personally for me, to really start spending time with the things that have always been in my life in lots of ways, you know, Reiki being a big one. All of a sudden it just feels like the room, like, for that is just bigger and bigger, and it's like, oh, okay, and you know, that comes in the form of more time, because that's what we're making time for things like that as well. And but also the energies around that. So it feels, yeah, the healing part of it, I think, the growth of the healing element in it, I can already feel so much.
Yeah.
And even just in the decision we made, ever since we made that decision and started getting the wheels in motion, that space is just opening up.
Yeah.
I can really feel that.
Yeah, and if you take healing to mean being whole, like the roots of the word, I really think there's something about this that which is there's a consciousness towards wholeness, and I feel like our energy is at it, like directed at that. And I can't remember, we were chatting with a friend, and we were just, you know, because we're also at that point in time where we're coming out of lockdown and we're seeing people in person that we haven't seen for a long time, and there's, you know, our answer to, you know, what are you guys up to at the moment? It's quite interesting right now. And although it's got all of these elements, like there's something incredibly coherent or whole about it. Like everything fits, and it doesn't just fit with each other. Like, oh, this is a great plan, which it doesn't. It's like, no, it fits with our past and our present and our future. It's really whole, and I've never felt so coherent in my whole life. And I don't feel like I'm in control. I feel like I feel like
participate.
Yeah, I'm participating, but I feel like I have a good idea of what my wholeness feels like and looks like, and and it's new, and so then I'm going to be curious about like even tonight. So the universe has been generous and thrown us, you know, unanticipated ingredients, like, oh, you're doing this for the weekend, would you like to do a radio interview tonight? And I'm curious, because normally I find those things, they can be sometimes difficult to handle, they can feel a bit toxic, I can be hard on myself afterwards, because I didn't I judge what I said, and and this is with LBC, so like I don't know the journalists, that they're you know, it's like not the safest offer, but it's also not a big deal. But yeah, I'm just curious. That's why I said yes. So I'm just actually, this has come up, and it feels like an opportunity to kind of,
like, how does that gel together?
How does that feel here in this space?
Yeah.
And does it engulf the space, or can it be? I guess if it's about being whole, does this belong, or is this just, oh no, I don't. This doesn't belong.
Or like, how does it kind of gel? Like, that's to me is like, how does it, can it flow together? How does it not bump? So I think it's interesting too. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if the program was about centers of healing, or
of course,
I'm pretty sure it's like, would you please criticize the criminal justice system on air, or something like that.
But like you say, it's generous. It's almost like, bringing, and it's not completely like this, but bringing something old into the newness of a space, and saying, cool, like that too, like that also fits here, that also happens here. Or we're not discarding.
Or maybe you are. Maybe it's just about, I guess if it's about coherence and being whole, it's like, well then, what is the boundary around that, and what belongs and what doesn't? And then I guess there will be some things like this that maybe you arrive at a place like, I simply don't do that anymore.
And that might have been the same feeling whether we were at home or whether we're here. So I think there's going to come a stage where you can't really separate, but how you kind of evaluate the energies towards things like a radio interview tonight. I think that's going to have, maybe what's going to become clear is that happens regardless of where I am. So absolutely, my discernment for those situations is just you, right?
Yeah, which I'm sure it.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's just
like,
you're going to feel as you would feel no matter where we were. So,
yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really still like feeling the energy of what you said about the spiral and you 25 years ago and outdoors, and then, you know, actually like that's your gong through this from something way you back then, and mine is the healing stuff. I've been doing homeopathy and Reiki for many years, but not, you know, in this broader context, and bringing it into the actual work I do, which is where Reiki is kind of flowing.
Yeah, it feels like it's got a home.
Yeah, maybe that's perhaps my gong.
Maybe, but I also, more than one occasion over the last few weeks, I feel like you're talking about your grandma and your grandma's home a lot more, and I feel like I just, as your partner, I just notice, I feel like actually there might be a deep, you know, the idea of cabins and wood and outdoors and
Calagas and coffee.
Yeah, like there have been so many smells that have been like a nostalgia smell for you, and so I, you know, this definitely, I know, like this is not, oh gosh, Cynthia's life was nothing like this, but then she made this interesting change. You're also
those bits are
on an arc.
Yeah, absolutely. I can feel that, and I only really recognized that when we were talking just now, and you were talking about, you know, your outdoors, you know, in your 20s, and then we spoke about healing, and then the two things came together for me as well. I was like, oh, there are all these, and you're right, like all these elements, and maybe my Oma, which was incredibly healing, always. And even when we walked in here yesterday, I walked up those stairs and I was like, this reminds me of my Oma's house. You know?
So many things do.
Yeah, that's true. That's really, really true.
I don't hear you talk about, and I know that house was a place of stability because, you know, your family moved, but I don't hear you talk about other spaces.
No, it's true. No, that's true. I haven't really noticed it in like the cumulative of that. I've just obviously
and even
noticed
fruit trees, because you'll be, oh, my Oma had one of them, and
this fig tree right here.
Yeah, literally, there's one smiling at us.
Literally here, yeah. Oh, beautiful. Oh, I like that very much.
Should we leave that there?